There's a lot of other factors that go into how we are coming across. So Dale Carnegie said that there are basically 4 ways that we are being evaluated, and we talk about them being the 4 ways that people view us. So let's go ahead and look at those now, and we'll figure out what actually goes into each of these things. So the 4 ways that people view us are what we do, how we look, what we say, and how we say it. And we'll spend a little bit of time on each of these as it relates to how we come across to other people on video. So when we think about this first one, what we do, let's get some discussion going. You can just come off mute if you've got an idea. What would be something that would either add to or take away from how we're perceived on a video call in terms of what we do? That first one there. What might be
Posture.
something? Ooh, okay. So what about our posture, AJ?
Like, not looking like you're about to fall to sleep, like sitting up straight.
Paying attention, right?
Yeah, basically.
Not sitting there like with your arms crossed, like really?
Attire.
Okay. Yeah. And what about attire? What do we want to be aware of with our attire?
Well, like at least a shirt.
Yes.
I've seen some people without a shirt on.
Yes, a shirt is good, and maybe even let's take it a step further. What kind of shirt might we want to be wearing?
A nice looking shirt. Like I got some stripes on today.
There you go. Okay, so a professional looking shirt, right? And that could go into that how we look category too. What are some other things with this what we do quadrant? Yeah.
Our tone of voice when we are answering or asking a question, because we don't want to give off the wrong impression. Oh, I'm bored. Oh, I'm angry,
Yeah, absolutely. When you think back to that first quadrant, that what we do too, it's things like showing up on time or, looking like we're interested, asking questions, listening, having conversation, interacting like you all are doing here. That what we do is really important. That how we look, we talked about, right? Our attire, what we're wearing, our facial expressions, our gestures. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about some webcam best practices. What might go down in this quadrant, the what we say quadrant? What could either add to or take away how people are perceiving us in that what we say quadrant? What do you think?
Our introduction.
Okay, so our introduction, the way we introduce ourselves, how we explain who we are and say our name. Yeah, what else?
Maybe like polite and respectful of other people's often opinions.
Yeah, we don't get our defenses up or get our guard up or be like, well, what do you mean by that, right? So we're polite, we're respectful, we're professional. Okay, anything else in that what we say?
Our use of slang.
Absolutely. Depending on who our audience, knowing who our audience is and knowing who it is. Yeah, we definitely want to be careful of that. Okay. Anything else in that what we say before we hop over to that last one? No, sounds like we got a pretty good handle on it. All right, this last one, and we'll take this one a step further here in just a couple of minutes, but what do you think could go into that how we say it?
I think a lot of times, depending on how you word something, it might come off as like passive aggressive. And so I think your tone of voice has a lot to do with it. Yeah.
Can you give us an example?
Ooh. I should be able to, because I'm kind of passive aggressive myself, and I don't mean to be. So, I don't know, Mr. Hilderman, I've been passive aggressive to you. Right? Like on accident.
At least you're honest.
Am I supposed to give an example of when you did that?
Yeah.
No. You're doing a lot better at this year, AJ, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. So it could be as simple as, what do you want for dinner? It sounds very different when you say, well, what would you like for dinner versus, well, what do you want for dinner? Right? So our tone of voice and how we say things and the inflection can really matter. Yeah. Anthony, you got something?
Yes.
Go for it.
I think one important thing for when we are saying stuff to another person is it's body language, direct eye contact,
Yeah.
how we present ourselves. Because if we're just like, for example, if I look away from you and say this, you're gonna be like, what am I focusing on? Not you, obviously, which makes you feel like you're left out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Anthony, thank you for that. I couldn't have asked for a better segue in terms of why this is so critically important, because how people view us determines the level of trust. How people view us determines the level of trust. So why would creating trust over video or in a virtual environment be beneficial? Why would that be something that we want to do? Create that trust. What are we going to get out of it, or what are other people going to get out of it? What do you think? You can just come off mute and tell us.
It can show that you're like a responsible person.
Okay, so if we're trustworthy, people might see us as being more responsible, which some of us, maybe that's how we want to be perceived, right? As responsible. Okay, what else?
Maybe if it's someone important, you might like be able to build that trust and get maybe their information.
Yeah, you think about networking, right? And growing that network, that could be really beneficial. We want to get people's information. Okay, anything else? Why is building trust important? Why would we maybe want to do that virtually?
You might want to be in someone's good books.
Yeah. You've probably heard the term or something along the lines of people do business with people that they like, right? Plenty of us have probably heard something like that. And numerous studies have shown that people will continue to do business with people that they trust and that they like, even if their price is higher or their product is not as great. Think about that for a minute. So if I like you, and even though you're trying to charge me more and your product isn't as great, because I respect you and I like you and I trust you, the chance that I'm going to buy from you is a lot greater than somebody else I don't know selling a better product at a lesser price. So that trust factor is really, really critical to be able to build not only face-to-face, but also online. So how do we do that? One of the main ways we do that is by using video, much like we're determining or much like we're using and practicing with today. So let's look at some best practices for creating a visual connection on camera. And Mr. Hildebrand told me y'all were practicing some of these or talking about some of these earlier. And so hopefully some of these will resonate with the topics that you've already talked about today. So a couple best practices, we'll talk through these and get some discussion going too. So one of the toughest things to do, for myself included, is that first one there. Is to look at the webcam, not your screen. So it's very different for me to be looking directly into the webcam versus looking at the words on the screen versus looking at the thumbnails of you all. It's a tough one to do, but we know that it's beneficial because it really shows people that you're creating that eye contact with them. And it's tough because if you want to focus on the screen or feel like you're looking at them, that's probably one of the biggest disconnects we see is not looking directly at that webcam. Number two is to ensure that your face is properly centered in the camera. So many of us look pretty good here, but we've probably all seen some challenging ones or people not being in the center of the camera. Number three is to reduce, if possible, any background distractions. So the room that I'm sitting in right now is not my office. I'm actually at our office. I'm in a completely different room because my office is very messy in the background. And I thought if I was going to be talking to you all about video presence today, I should probably follow my own rules and not have a distracting background. So I'm just in front of a plain wall. But why would we want to reduce those background distractions? What do you think? What's going to be the benefit to that, to be able to build that connection? What do y'all think in terms of keeping those distractions at bay? Who's got a thought?
Oh, sorry.
It's so their focus is on you and not on your background.
Mm-hmm. If I see a lot of stuff going on in the background, it's going to distract me, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm going to focus on, oh, what are those books on her bookshelf? Or what's that painting behind you, right? Or, oh, did I see somebody just walk behind you? And we're all in this new space, right? And so there's going to be some distractions. If we've got a really big, important meeting or a pitch, or, we really want to impress somebody, take some time to consider our background because we know that it makes a difference, right? That's not saying, hey, don't put anything personal in your background. That's fine. You want to have, we're all people, right? We want to show people some stuff, but can we keep the distractions to a minimum? The fourth one there is smile. And that one is a big one. Some of us are smiling now on the camera, but that creates a warm and inviting presence. And now, since I just said the word smile, most people are smiling at least, or trying to. We've got a hand raised. So Shreya, do you have a question?
Yes, I was wondering if like a virtual background, like just having a plain color, but like making it a virtual one is like still formal enough.
Yes. So I would say you hit the nail on the head there, right? We've got all these fun backgrounds to choose from depending on what application we're using. I'll tell you, I was on a meeting with a client, and she was an executive level at a pretty big company here in St. Louis, and she had the beach background on Microsoft Teams. And the way that she was sitting, it made it look like she was legitimately laying on the beach. And I was so distracted, I couldn't focus on what she was saying. And every time I think of her now, I just think of her laying on the beach when really that's not what she was doing at all. So if you are looking for a more professional background, you could absolutely have that plain colored one. That one's fine. Just keeping it professional though. Those other ones, like to have a little bit of fun, depending on who you're talking about, is totally fine. But the plain one is great. Yeah, keeps it professional. Thanks for that. And then another one to create that visual connection is to have your camera be at eye level so you can actually look into it when you're having that conversation, because we've all probably also seen those weird angles where people are like looking down on the camera or looking up, which is never a great angle for people. So these are just some quick best practices, and we'll continue to look at some other ones as well. Let's see, I think we've got a couple things in the chat. Apple over Samsung, is being outside okay? Somebody said no. So let's talk about that. Why would we say no, being outside is not okay? What are your thoughts on that?
A lot of distractions outside and like
Okay.
stuff going on, they're pretty bright.
Yep.
Probably pretty loud too.
Yeah, noise, wind. Wind doesn't sound good in a microphone.
Control nature.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't control if all of a sudden an airplane goes flying overhead, right? Or a bird comes swooping in the screen. I would say too, knowing your audience, knowing who your audience is, and back to that, one of those first questions we talked about, how you want to be perceived online. So for a situation like this where, hey, it's all other students and teachers that you know, and you're getting some practice with some things, right? Maybe being outside is okay. Or for one of your regular classes, or if you're, working on a group project with some friends, sure, go outside if you know that it's going to be okay and it's not going to be too distracting. When you really do want to, up how you're going to be perceived, then make it a more professional background. Make sure that your dress fits your audience, etc., your attire, your background that you've chosen, being inside. So those are a couple of things. There's a few more that we're going to look at, and these are really considered what we call visual cues that build trust. We are working with organizations right now. We've developed a program all about virtual selling. So how to sell in a virtual world, because what happened in March is many people lost the ability to go face-to-face and visit clients. And now they have to do it all virtually. So whether you're selling yourself or a product, there's some visual cues when you're on camera that can build trust. And a couple of these we've already talked through. That first one is really looking directly at the camera versus at the screen or at the other people on the thumbnails. Experts recommend that you lean forward about 10 to 15 degrees. So versus leaning back away from the camera, leaning forward a little bit. So who's got a thought? Why might that be important? How would that help build trust by leaning forward a little bit?
Shows engagement.
Yeah, exactly, Colby. Absolutely. It shows you're interested. You think about if you're having a conversation with somebody face to face or in person, if you're interested in what they're saying, you're probably leaning in, trying to get a chance to hear them a little bit more clearly, right? All right. Utilizing facial expressions. So, again, kind of giving that head nod, that body movement, or a smile. That also shows that you're paying attention to them and that you're not distracted. This second to last one, increase our energy 20%. Increase our energy 20%. Who's got a thought on why that one might be important? Yeah, go for it, Ian.
Well, increasing our energy basically can make the other person feel, it can both help us get focused and make the person feel like we're more engaged, hence basically making it much more exciting to talk to the class.
Yeah, and Anthony, you've got a great energy as you say that. What we find and what we found is that the virtual environment, you have to be about 20% higher than the level of the people that are in the room in order to come across as engaging and captivating. So if you want people to listen to you, you probably have to go a bit above and beyond what you think is the level that you should be at. And it could be a little bit harder, but if you've ever seen yourself on video or recorded or seen how you're coming across to other people, you should probably go a couple of levels up. So increasing your energy about 20% in order to stay engaging. And then lastly, we talked about that a little bit, using those gestures that are appropriate to the energy, etc. So if you had to choose one of these that you think you could do better, go ahead and type it in the chat. What's one of these that, just based on all the many hours that you have spent on video so far this semester or this year, what's one that you think you could do better? Just type it in the chat. We'll pick something to work on. All right. Oh, directly at that camera, every single one of them. Yeah, start small, AJ. Leaning forward, energy. All right. Looking at the camera. Cool. All right. Okay. Yeah. So it looks like energy and looking directly at the camera are the big ones we're going to work on. So for the leaders leading the groups on this call, you can definitely hold them accountable to that, to say, hey, we want to see some more energy, or let's try looking directly at the camera. So some stuff to work on. Cool. All right. So let's just take a quick survey here. What's wrong with this guy's background? When we think about being on video, and this is just pulled from a slide that we use a lot of, this guy is obviously trying to be professional and broadcast the news on BBC. So who wants to come off mute? Tell us, what are some things that you see that might be wrong with this guy's background?
The open cabinet.
Yeah, you're wondering, why can't the door shut, right? I'm wondering, does that door not stick shut? Did they not shut it? Okay, so that's a distraction. What else?
The pillows.
Yeah, way too many pillows. Why aren't the pillows on the bed? Who's sitting on the floor? Who's sleeping on the floor, right? All right, what else?
It just looks messy, like in general.
Yeah, it's a total contrast to what he's wearing, right? He's got a suit, like a suit jacket and a tie on, and it obviously looks like he's working, and it's completely messy. Yeah, what else do you see? Anything else?
The lighting isn't great.
Yeah, it's very yellow lighting, right? It's tough. Yeah, so we get it, right? We quickly picked up on some of the things that we're doing. And again, it really does go back to knowing our audience, right? Depending on who we're interacting with, what we're hoping the outcome is to be, and how we're looking at being perceived on the video, then we want to make sure that our background and everything that we're saying and how we're coming across fits with that perception that we're striving for. Again, when we're talking to friends or we're talking to family members, it might not matter if we've got a messy background or we're wearing a t-shirt. But when we do really want to come across as professional and trustworthy and build that connection with other people, we've got to step up our game, right? And so in the online environment, we've talked about how we come across really visually, but our voice is a very, very, very important tool as well. And so we'll spend a little bit of time now talking about how we come across vocally to others when we're connecting with them in a virtual environment. So what does a congruent message mean to you? If we were to say, all right, tell me, what is a congruent message? Who wants to take a stab at what that means? You can just come off mute and tell us, what does a congruent message mean?
It's like a conflict between all of the other messages being conveyed, I think.
Okay, yeah, so it's kind of like they're not matching up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Anybody else?
Is that right?
We're going to tell you in just a minute, AJ. Good work. Anybody else have another thought? Let's see, might be in the chat here. Oh, that was for me. Thanks. All right, cool. All right, so AJ was spot on, right? The congruent message is basically, yep, it's not matching up. It's really interesting when we think about what goes into a congruent message. There was a UCLA professor by the name of Dr. Albert Morabian, and he did a 10-year study on communication. And what he found was that when a message is incongruent, so when it doesn't match up, about 55% of the message that people are taking away is coming from their appearance or how they look, their facial expressions, their gestures, their professionalism, their background. About 38% of that message is coming from how they say things, and only about 7% of that message is coming from the actual words that they're saying. So again, when things don't match, our messaging doesn't match, basically more than half of it is coming across in terms of how we look. About a third of it's coming across in how we say it, and about 7% only in the words that we say. So let's have a little bit of fun with this and get some practice and see if we can prove this right. I'm going to put a sentence up here on the screen. I never said he stole my money. So let's get a volunteer to come off mute. All you're going to have to do is read the message. So who wants to go first for us in reading this? Just take yourself off mute and I'll tell you what you're going to do.
Okay.
Okay.
I never, or should I say it?
No, yeah, go ahead. So
Okay.
you're going to say it in just a moment, but you are going to say it and you're going to emphasize I, okay?
Okay.
All right, go for it.
I never said he stole my money.
All right, nice. Let's have somebody else come off mute and you are going to emphasize never. Go for it.
I'll do it.
Okay.
I never said he stole my money.
There you go. All right, nice. We're going to have a third person. You're going to come off mute and emphasize the said.
I can do it.
Okay, go for it.
I never said he stole my money.
There you go. Nice emphasis on that. All right, you probably see where we're going with this. So next person's going to emphasize he.
I can do it.
Okay, thanks.
I never said he stole my money.
There you go. All right, we got a few more to go here. Who wants to take a stab at emphasizing stole?
I'll try one.
Okay, go for it.
Do one. I guess I'll go. I never said he stole my money.
There you go. All right, two more to go. Who wants to take a stab at emphasizing my?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I never said he stole my money.
There you go. All right, one more. Who wants to bring us home, emphasizing that money?
I can.
Okay.
I never said he stole my money.
There you go. Thanks, everybody. So you probably got the point there, right? Just by emphasizing, that sentence has 7 different words. By placing an emphasis on each of the different 7 words, we basically gave that sentence 7 different meanings, even though each time we were saying the exact same words. So we have to be very careful when we're talking in terms of how we are actually saying things, because if you remember, that is one of the ways that we are being perceived, or one of the ways that people are viewing us. So back to that study by Dr. Albert Morabian, we just proved that vocal piece there, about a third, just over a third of our message is coming across in terms of how we say it. So only 7% of the words' meanings are coming through when a message is incongruent. If we ever want to figure out how we are being perceived by people online, there's a really, really simple way for us to do it. It's also a very, very uncomfortable way for many of us, but the easiest way to get better at how you are perceived on video is to record yourself and review it. So anybody ever done this before? Recorded yourself or watched a video recording of how you have come across? Mr. H, did you raise your hand? Tell us about it. What did you think when you saw yourself on video?
I never want to see myself on video again.
That's usually what people say, right? We do a presentations training program here where we work with people for 2 days and we record them 7 times in 2 days, and they watch it each time. But guess what happens throughout those 2 days? They get exponentially better. So the easiest way to, like, if you've got a big pitch or a big meeting or something that you want to make sure that you're doing right or coming across as your best and most professional self, the best thing that you can do is practice, record it, maybe you even ask somebody else to record it for you, and then you review it, you watch it, and you figure out what do you need to do in order to get better. We've got one other thing that we're going to talk about before we kind of start to wrap up our discussion for the day. And I know some folks have to hop off a little bit early, and then we're going to pause in just a couple of minutes to take a picture as well, if we've figured out how to do that. But since we've talked about recording, there's a couple of other things that we can do in order to make sure that we're being effective. And we talked about distractions or things that might be in our background. So go ahead, and again, we'll just do this in the chat. It seems to be the easiest way to communicate. What are some distractions that you all are facing right now? What are some distractions that you've got going on in your world? Maybe you've got your phone in front of you, pets. Yep. Maybe you've got siblings at home or your parents at home. Yep. Yeah. Friends, activities. There's a busy street out there. I was working from home the other day and my husband conveniently decided to cut the grass right as I was hopping on a meeting, and it was immediately outside my window. Fantasy football. There you go. Well, it's important for us to look at these distractions and to recognize them, because these distractions, every single time we respond to them, those are contributing to how we're being perceived online. So if we've got somebody walking past us, or the grass is being cut outside and we are focused more so on those distractions versus focused fully on the person that we're talking to on the video, those distractions, can decrease the level of trust that we've got. And GoToMeeting, which some of you may have heard of, some maybe not, published an article recently about what are some best practices in terms of rules of virtual meeting etiquette as well as video etiquette. And so we'll quickly look at those today as we wrap up our time. I'm going to stop real quick though. Justin, do you want to take a picture? Did we figure out how to do that?
I'm gonna just do a real quick screenshot, and if you wouldn't mind, just stop sharing your screen just for a quick second. That way I can have the tile view. Okay.
Awesome.
All right, here we go. And so this is gonna be, kind of cheesy or whatever, but like I like to take pictures. So if you wouldn't mind, just give us a thumbs up or a way, however you're feeling about today's meeting. Give us a little. There we go. All right. Hang on. Give me one more second. Thank you. Perfect.
All right. We did it. We figured it out.
Good job. Good job, team.
Can we do it again?
Okay. All right. We can do it one more time. Hold on. Let me get this going. We can do it one more time. That's fine. All right. Everyone ready? All right. 3, 2, 1. Picture. All right. That's the winner. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. So let's look at those GoToMeeting best practices here, and then we'll leave a couple minutes for questions and answers if anybody's got some. So these are just a couple of ones, and we think about being fully present, which is really one of the best things we can do in order to build that trust on video or in that virtual environment, is to fully focus on the people or the person that we're interacting with. First one is to leave the keyboard alone. So we have probably all been on those meetings or those sessions where you hear all of a sudden somebody like angry typing, almost like they're beating up their keyboard. And that's really distracting. And if we're the ones doing that while we're talking to somebody, it is basically showing them that, hey, we're not giving them our full attention. And that can be really diminishing in terms of that trust that we build. Second one, which you all have done phenomenal on, so it shows that it's a good best practice for you, is to mute your mic when you're not talking. Because back to those distractions, we've all got them right now. Even if we're working in an office space or at an actual school, there's still things going on. So keeping that mic on mute when you're not talking, especially if you are outside, or if, hey, maybe you've got to join the call from the car, or you're commuting or whatever. Third one is one we talked about a little bit when we talked about that 20% more energy than you think you might need, is to speak up, to make sure that people can hear you. I see a lot of you are just on the computer audio, which is great. I work with large groups all day usually, so I've got a headset to make sure that people can hear me, and those distractions are a minimum, but we want to make sure that people can hear us, so we're speaking up. This fourth one is a tough one, but it's one that can really, really take away from your credibility, and the trust factor is no food. So making sure that, again, knowing your audience, and if you're trying to be very professional and make a good impression, making sure that you're absolutely not having, eating your lunch or having a snack. We were doing so it's pre-COVID, but I was working with another facilitator. He was working out of his home, and we were doing a session with a very large client of ours. And he was eating a snack the entire time that we were on this call with this client. And his background was terrible too, but he was eating a snack. And I just kept texting him and was like, put the snacks away, put the food down, because that does not create a good first impression or a good impression overall when you're trying to be professional. And then the last one from that go-to meeting tips is to stay seated and stay present. So not walking around, not getting up and moving, especially when your webcam is on, and making sure that you're really staying focused and being present with the people, so that you are showing them that you respect them and you're giving them your full attention. So we've got just a couple of minutes left. We'll leave some time for Q&A. Who's got the first question or first thought about anything we talked about? I know you looked at some video best practices beforehand too, so if anything I said contradicts anything that you talked about earlier, feel free to bring it up and we can have some discussion going.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Would you say that it is harder to be in a virtual environment and try to be polite and do the best you can, or in a physical environment? Which do you think is harder?
I'd say hands down virtual. Hands down virtual. And I think that's why it's why we're even talking about this topic today, right? Because we got tossed into this world that we were uncomfortable with, that we didn't do a whole lot of. And, we've had years of practice with face-to-face interaction, and we've had just a couple of months of practice in this environment. So we're still learning, we're still doing as individuals, as school districts, as companies. Yeah, so probably harder. Yeah, thanks, Anthony. Who's got the next question? So a question we get sometimes is, do I have to be on video when I'm doing a meeting? And the answer to that question is, depends on the outcome that you want. We see a lot of resistance from people when they're setting up meetings. For example, I was on a call with a new prospect yesterday morning. We had arranged the call a couple of weeks back, and I sent him a Teams meeting, and it's a best practice of ours to always be on camera when we're meeting somebody, especially for the first time. And he immediately came in the meeting, not on video. And so I said to him, I said, do you have the ability to be on video right now? He goes, oh, yeah, okay, yep. And immediately the connection was there because we were able to see one another face to face. So depending on the outcome you're looking for, if it's an option for you to be on video to increase that connection, we would absolutely recommend it. Who's got a final question?
Oh, I
Yeah.
wasn't here in the beginning, so I probably
Yeah.
missed like the intros. But is this like the same Dale Carnegie that like wrote the one book? It's like a really famous book.
It is, Michael. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah. So Dale Carnegie, and I didn't even give you all backstory of it, but he was a front runner in personal and professional development. He's no longer with us, but he started this company that's been around for 100 plus years. But he wrote 2 really popular books: How to Win Friends and Influence People, and How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And both are continue to be bestsellers today. But yes, it's the same one, Michael. Thank you.
So, Ms. Lane, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that some of our students have to get out of other classes or meetings, but can we give Ms. Lane a real quick round of applause if you want to hit the eye, whatever you want to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me.
And we're gonna see Katie, Ms. Lane, again on Friday, and then again in a couple weeks. She's got a couple of cool workshops for everyone to learn more about professionalism. So
awesome! Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was great.
So we'll see you again on Friday.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have to make you the host again?
Oh yeah. No, I don't think so. I think I'm still.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Now I know some of the Ladue students are still sticking around with Miss Kennedy, and I think everyone else's class is over. So we'll see you either tomorrow or on Friday.
Yes.
And then, so thanks. And then Miss Kennedy, I think would be great today for the remainder of class. Did I already have something on the plan book?
No, but I can talk to him about a couple things.
Miss Jones, are you guys done?
Yeah, we're off. We're heading out. We'll see you. Bye, Brentwood.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Nice.
Can you make me host real quick, Mr. Hildebrand?
I will. But what I'd be curious maybe to hear from everyone today would be a how they think today's meeting went, like being our first kind of get together with a professional, and just kind of how she conducted the workshop, things we like, things we would change, recommendations, whatever, just some feedback basically. I think that would be really helpful for me and for future speakers, and just to make sure you guys are enjoying yourselves. So hopefully you liked it. She's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
In my humble opinion.
Any opinions?
Well, I got to get out of here, but you guys can talk about that.
Okay.
Good seeing everybody. Hope you enjoyed it today. And if you missed part of it, which some of you guys obviously didn't get here right when we started at 1, I am recording it, and I actually am still recording myself talking right now.